Hey, it's Rebecca, and welcome back to some King of the Hill. This time I'm just by myself playing against, I think, a bunch of robots. Can't quite remember. Pretty sure it's robots, but could be wrong on that one. You can make a decision for yourself. Anyways, besides King of the Hill, which I basically just pick a bunch of different classes and try stuff out, I thought I'd talk a little bit about social stuff, more specifically at school. At least when I'm recording this, I legit just got out of school for the summer, so may as well talk about the social stuff at school that happens. I was mostly going to talk about things along the lines of just straight up cliques and parties, not so much parties, but the jocks and the nerds and the cheerleaders and the weird people that you don't know where to put them, and the dropouts and the somethings and the what the heck are you wearing. So at least we'll go into mine a little bit. Mine, I suppose, if you have an eye for it, you can pretty much tell who's a jock versus who's a gamer nerd. But that's only because, we're... let me explain my school a little bit. My school's real small. We're not private, none of that silliness, but we're 500 students, and the maximum amount of students that allowed is 600. It's some sort of charter school rule. I go to a charter high school, and it's real small. You know most of people's faces after about 2 months of going to class. At least you know all of the people's faces that are in, the same areas that you go to. For example, if you always walk down the hall at a certain time, you are going to see the same people every time you walk down the hall at that time. But you won't see, some other person who chills out in the back field at that time unless you walk down the hall at a different time and they hang out in the hall at that time. So you figure out, who hangs out where. You get a general feel for who hangs out in the space you hang out during certain times. But you don't really, see much beyond that. If you don't interact with them, then you don't really learn much more about them. But there's a lot you can see just from the plain old observations. You can tell who's dating, who's at least interested in each other, who's just broken up, and etc. You can also, at least, if you do interact with them, you can figure out who's sick, who skipped school, and who's just not there today. You could figure that out just by looking around. For example, my little friend Not chills out in the hallway during lunch, so I can just go to the friend Not, and if someone's missing, they're either hanging out with a different group of friends that hang out elsewhere, they're sick, or they got in trouble with the administration peoples, which doesn't happen very often. I think it happened twice this year, so woo! But it's not so much the friends that you're classifying, because your friends are in a specific group with you most of the time. At least I don't consider myself a best friend of all the cheerleader type people, just because first off, I never really interact with them, and they're not exactly in my circles. They don't hang out in the hallway. They're out someplace out in the sun showing off their cutesy little tans and stuff. But we'll go back to the actual, clique things. I hate to call them cliques, because cliques sounds super mean girlsy and so middle school. Ugh, I hated that place. But there's not much else to call it, really, because you can't say club, because club is way different from clique. And you can't say group of people of a specific stereotype, because that's way too politically correct. But, hey, I suppose we can call them cliques for now, as long as you understand that it is way different from an actual clique. I'm just talking about a group of people with a specific stereotype, to be politically correct. Haha, see what I did there. Yeah, but there's very specific people in my group. There's the nerds who are doing something for themselves. The nerds who aren't doing anything for themselves and are probably going to end up either in a dead-end job or a cardboard box on the side of the road. There are the jocks who aren't really doing anything for themselves and only start to realize that they have to do something other than football, baseball, volleyball, softball, tennis, golf. I don't even remember what other things that you can do as a jock. They figure out that you have to do something other than that before they can actually go pro. It's like you have to have a real job before you can go pro while you're going through college football stuff. And it's weird, and then they suddenly realize that maybe this sport isn't their thing, and they only realize that in senior year, and you're like, welp, you haven't exactly been taking top-level courses, so you are doomed to community college. Not to say anything bad about community college, it's a pretty cool place, but still, you're doomed to, like, the low-level colleges that aren't Ivy League or something, and you're never going to end up going pro with football because you can't get into some place that has a good football team because they also have good academics. There's also the jocks who, like, aren't huge jocks, and I'm kind of one of those. Like, we play the sport either to get the PE credits, or we play the sport because we like the sport, but we don't really want to go pro with it because it's something fun and we'd rather not spend our whole lives doing it. I'm kind of a mix of both. I mostly did it just for the fun. I play volleyball, by the way, internet. Ho-ho! But then I'm also getting PE credits out of it, so yeah, I like that a lot better than playing it because I want to be a pro volleyball star and totally smash someone's face in with a piece of leather. Woohoo! Though that would actually be kind of cool. Oh my goodness. A pro volleyball star? Nah, that's not me. But then there's also, like, the teachers. They don't count. The cheerleaders are fun to classify because you can... Once you, like, get a feel for what one of them generally looks like, you can, like, see a common pattern in what they wear. They're the only ones I would really call an actual clique, kind of clique. Like, they stick together. They usually go to a lot of the same classes together. They usually have a lot of the same kinds of backpacks or giant purses that are pseudo backpacks. And they have those little bows in their hair that are all the same because they got them during cheerleading practice together. And they wear the same hairstyles. No joke. Same hair. It might be like, it's a rotation between 3 or 4 different hairstyles. I swear to the Lord in heaven above, it is the same, and it's really creepy because I don't know how they get their hair to be so straight and so normal looking. Or perfect looking, I suppose we could say in that way. So yeah, I mean, I still would say that my school in itself is pretty open. Like, we aren't in the clique of, like, if you aren't in our group from day one as a freshman, you are doomed to never ever get to talk to us ever. But we aren't like the kind where everyone's part nerd, part jock, part athlete, part something, part businessman, part Assassin's Creed, part Modern Warfare, part Sauron, Lord of the Rings. Because that would be a nightmare, and then we'd all be, like, well-rounded people that love everyone, and then we'd have a utopia, and, like, stuff would be awesome, man. Ho-ho! So, yeah. At least, I would say that my school in particular is a bit more open than others I've been to. But that's not to say that your school or someone else's school isn't open too. I would just be real careful when you go. Like, you go and you keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for sure. Like, figure out what are you? Like, don't classify yourself too deeply into, like, this little box. But figure out, like, what are your interests? If you play video games every day of your life when you're not doing homework, definitely do not pursue hanging out with the cheerleaders, because chances are you aren't going to fit in with them and your friendship's just kind of be marred and it's not going to be a great friendship. Though, don't get me wrong, if you have a great friendship with some cheerleader friend of yours and she likes playing video games with you, I'm cool. That's actually pretty awesome. But if they're like one of the stereotypical ones, then you don't you don't really want to mess with that, because the relationship in itself isn't going to go too well. So I would say know your limits of like what kind of friendships are best for you and the other person, but don't put yourself into loads of teeny tiny boxes. Have bigger boxes. You don't have to sort everyone into a million little spaces. Just have like a general box of like, these are generally people I wouldn't hang out with. These are people I would maybe hang out with but not really want to be best friends with because they're not exactly in my circle kind of area space. And then you have this box of people I would totally trust and hang out with and play video games with all day. You just gotta have the general boxes. You don't need the like, oh, I can hang out with this section of jocks, but not this section of jocks. And these nerds I want to avoid at all costs because they're just going to drag me down into a hole and I'll die of starvation in my cardboard box on the side of the road, but I'll still have my Xbox 360. Hold on. That was really funny. You just have the big boxes. You want the big boxes. You hear? Big boxes, not small boxes. That's pretty much it. If you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about boxes, loads of boxes, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment, all those important things that nobody really cares about anymore, but would still be pretty cool. If you didn't like it, well, there's nothing I can do to stop you from not liking it. It's not like I can reach through this screen right now, drag your face through time and space towards mine, and scream at you to like the video because you're a horrible person for not liking it. No, I can't do that. So if you feel like you want to express your distaste for this video, then do so. But if you want to express your love for this video, also do so. And if you don't want to express your distaste for this video, I don't care. You can move on to some other YouTuber. Go, be free, find your box. But if this is your box, then come hang out in the box. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today. My name's Rebecca, and I will see you in the next video.